Welcome to About the Buckets. We got a special pre-draft show. NBA draft is tomorrow. We're really excited to talk about all the trades, free agency stuff, pre-free agency stuff. And then towards the end of the show, we'll really dig into some NBA draft stuff. We got Matty Ice with us. We got Petrie, Mr. Miami Propaganda himself, rocking the Tyler Hero jersey. So the first topic that we need to jump into is let's talk about Bradley Beal and the Phoenix Suns. I think we were kind of talking about this beforehand, and it just was making me laugh, the conversation. So what's the knee-jerk reaction that we got? Petrie, I'm going to start with you. What's your knee-jerk reaction to your Miami Heat, I guess, falling short at the 1 yard line and losing Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of Miami Heat fans will relate when I say that it's indicative of every kind of offseason we've ever had. Every offseason we push our chips to the table completely. But unfortunately, some other teams just happen to have some more chips. Phoenix was able to offer a more competitive trade, I suppose. They liked the deal a little bit better. And now we're looking at Beal in Phoenix instead of Beal in Miami.
Yeah. Dude, we were going to get into Miami Heat a little later, but we can kind of talk about both at the same time. That was weird to me, though, because I understand from Washington's side, there was a few different angles that they could take with this trade, right? They could look for a young player who's on a big contract, locked in for a few years, and with Miami and Phoenix, you kind of had a DeAndre Ayton or Tyler Hero angle. It seems like Washington instead wanted to go for the trading for an expiring contract route in, getting Chris Paul. But Miami had Kyle Lowry. They have Victor Oladipo's contract, and a whole lot more draft picks. So I'm kind of flummoxed. It really must have just been Pat Riley just being like, Brad Beal's not my guy. But I don't know. I was kind of scratching my head after they announced it, man.
No, and that's completely valid as well because the Heat were also in play. They're also in play for Damian Lillard. So maybe Tyler Hero was not included on the offer for Beal. And it's very possible they were holding out to try to see if Dame would come available in order to parlay the Beal trade into a subsequent trade for Damian Lillard. But, clearly that's not what's going to end up happening here. I mean, we'll see pending paperwork and everything along those lines. Beal looks like he's going to Phoenix, but the Heat are very much in play for Damian Lillard as well.
I would have to imagine that, maybe the Heat just kind of stopped at the idea of including a first-round pick, or maybe they were forcing Washington to take back Duncan Robinson's contract. Because getting Chris Paul, that's just getting cap space essentially. I know Paul has a big contract for this year, but really what it is they're clearing their cap sheet of Beal's contract. And Miami could offer that to them as well as up to 4 draft picks. So I don't know, kind of a head scratching move. I get it. If they really feel like they're going to get a crack at Damian Lillard, it's a no brainer to take Lillard over Beal. I think he's, a top 10 player in the league, top 11 player in the league versus Beal being top 30, there's a significant difference between those two guys. So I get it. Just kind of 3 off seasons in a row where the Miami Heat have kind of been left at the altar. And you just got to wonder how many more runs that Jimmy Butler has in him, like he played against Milwaukee this postseason.
Yeah. So. And it goes to show you what everybody says about the Miami Heat players is that you got to have the guts. And these star players need to have the guts to demand, hey, it's Miami or nothing. If that's really what you want to do, we always get these half-assed reports coming out where they say, oh, well, Damian Lillard's I want to play in Miami. But then he also was hey, Brooklyn would be good. But, hey, I do still want to stay in Portland. So you're hedging it. You know what I'm saying? The same thing with Beal. Oh, I'd love to play in Miami. But, hey, it's cool. And that's what happens with a lot of these players. They're not having the audacity to just say it has to be Miami or it's not going to be anything. If that's what you feel like you are as a player, you have to be bold enough to demand that.
Maddie, what's your take?
I mean, I'm just thinking of how it's going to work. Like in terms of the Phoenix Suns,
Yeah,
you look Brad Beal, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. I don't know how. Like, okay, this is a separate topic, but do you guys think they're going to try to trade DeAndre Ayton now too?
you'd think that they'd have to.
Because in my opinion, like you have to move him for some role players now or something, right?
I think it's kind of probably a situation where you kind of have to split him into like 3 contracts. Like find a team like Brooklyn, hypothetically, who they have a ton of wings. They have Dinwiddie, they have Cam Johnson, they have Mikal. I guess they all just played together in Phoenix, didn't they?
I was gonna say.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know who the team is, but you got to find a team with.
Oh, sorry, I just saw something about the Wizards. Oh, never mind.
You got to find a team with like, I guess, like Brooklyn, that's willing to be like, hey, we'll just lump 3 role players together and take on Ayton.
But they gave Ayton a ton of money, didn't they?
Yeah. So
for sure.
He's making like 30 million probably around there.
I was gonna say, I'm sure he's making really good money. And hey, I like Ayton's game as a traditional big, but at the same time, that's not the name of the game in the modern NBA. It's very, very difficult. Heat fans cry over Bam Adebayo sometimes not really being able to just pull up on a short 2. And Ayton is a very much back to the basket, back you down kind of center. And that's just not the name of the game in the modern NBA.
Yep. So listen to this. I have a screenshot. So for the year of 2025-26, for that season, the Phoenix Suns have all of these contracts guaranteed for that year. So Kevin Durant at $55 million, Devin Booker at $54 million, Bradley Beal at $54 million, and DeAndre Ayton at $36 million.
That's $200 million.
Yeah, it's $198 million for 4 players, and they're going to be over the cap, probably at the second apron, with 4 guys, and it's like, I mean, who knows where Kevin Durant's at in 2 years? I highly doubt Bradley Beal or DeAndre Ayton are top 20 guys in 2 years. They're not now, so why would they be in 2 years?
Do you think Ishbia is just trying to make a major splash and just try to really make something happen in the first year or 2?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Like if they let's just say hypothetically, I'm not predicting this by any means. If in the next 2 years they make it to the NBA Finals, let me say that they make it to the Western Conference Finals both years, make it to the NBA Finals once. They don't win, but it's very competitive.
Yeah.
Is that a failure? Like, I mean, I think Ishbia is just trying to make a splash right now.
I don't think it's a failure. I think the problem is that Phoenix. I think Phoenix's one finals berth was kind of a fluke, and I get that. I get the injuries happen, right? But if you kind of play revisionist history on their finals run in 2021, they played LeBron and AD in the first round when Anthony Davis got hurt. And didn't the Lakers win game 1 and then they lost 4 in a row after Anthony Davis's injury. And then that was the year that Kawhi Leonard tore his ACL against the Jazz. So, Clippers weren't full strength. Jamal Murray had a torn ACL. He was out for that playoffs. So, I mean, it's kind of – I mean, do the Suns even get there the first time if they have to go through a healthy Clippers, Lakers, or Nuggets team?
When they got to the finals, didn't they, go up 2-0 and then lose 4 straight? Did that happen? Am I right about that?
I think so. I think
they went up 2-0 and then lost 4 straight.
Yeah,
so,
I think you're right.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, because that's the case, hey, going up 2-0 in the NBA Finals is fantastic, but losing 4 straight games, that's very, very bad.
Yeah. And so, I'm just not sure the Suns – I mean, last year they weren't one of the 4 best teams in the West, in my opinion. I mean, maybe 4th, but, I don't know. They weren't better than Denver. They weren't better than the Lakers, obviously. And then, I mean, were they even better than the Warriors? I don't know.
But this is the question that people are asking about the Suns right now is because they just went against Denver, and they got 2 wins, and that's commendable. They got 2 wins against a team that ran like a hot knife through butter through the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it's like, did they get better today? Sure, you can say that they definitely got better, but did they get better enough?
Yeah.
To beat Denver? I don't know.
Yeah. And, dude, they kind of have that weird thing going where, like, in the last 2 times they've played in an elimination game, they've just kind of pooped their pants. One of those they had Kevin Durant, the other one they didn't. But I'm talking like second round against Dallas when Luka outscored their entire team in the first half, which was insane. And then game 6 against Denver this year, kind of the same thing, you know, like they got blown out by 40 points on their home floor. Was it a home game or yeah, I think it was home game 6, right?
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure too. I remember that one.
Yeah.
They got beaten pretty badly.
And so you kind of have to ask yourself, what's going on? You know, Devin Booker was in both those games. Is that a Devin Booker thing or what's going on? You know? So, I mean, Chris Paul wasn't in the Denver game. He was in the Dallas game. So they kind of got that weird thing going. And I'm with you. I'm just not convinced that they got a whole lot better. You know? And I mean, Chris Paul's gone. How much
That's what I'm saying. They got better, but did they get better enough to beat Denver?
I
think, if they played that series again straight up right now, do they beat Denver? No.
Because, you know, I think Brad Beal is a better player at basketball than Chris Paul is right now. You know, Today, last week, next week, he's better. But just the positionality and the roles, what does Brad Beal bring to the team that they were missing with Chris Paul? He's not reinventing the wheel on that Phoenix team. You know, he kind of doesn't do anything different than Devin Booker does. And dude, him, KD, Booker, they're all ball dominant guys. I mean, they can all shoot, but it's just going to be a lot of that Brooklyn style, taking turns of who's going ISO.
Yeah, who's running ISO, exactly.
Unless someone drastically changes their game. Because Beal and Booker, just like you said, are very identical players. I mean, they're scores with secondary playmaking tendencies. Yeah. But I mean, that's a huge difference, you know, when you're looking to get someone else a shot versus yourself. I don't know. I don't see it with guys that have played in the league for so long, you know.
So someone brought up, I think it was on the Bill Simmons podcast, he talked about Ray Allen going to the Boston Celtics in 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he said that, you know, Allen's last year on Seattle, he had a 29-something usage rate, which is typical for a lead guy, right, on a team. And then in Boston, it went down to 18, which is a role player. Yeah. And it's is Brad Beal ready for that? You know, is he ready?
Well, yeah, and even Ray Allen left because he wasn't happy in that scenario.
Yeah, and I mean Chris Bosh, we talked about kind of the Heat's situation. Bosh, he went from
imagine when Toronto. I think about that. I'll give you another one. Kevin Love, when he was on the Timberwolves, he goes from a guy that was getting 30 points and 20 rebounds sometimes, unbelievable numbers. He was putting up numbers. I was like, those are Wilt numbers. You're getting 35 points and 20 or 22 rebounds. And then he goes to the Cavs and he's third fiddle to LeBron and Kyrie.
So there's kind of a magic number in there.
It happens.
Yeah, and both Bosh and Kevin Love went from being 25-ish points to dropping to 17. And so I just want to know if Brad Beal is ready to only score 17 points a game.
And that's a big thing. Is Bradley Beal ready to score maybe around 20 on a clean percentage? You're not going to have these nights where you get 35 points because you even when you shot a bad percentage, but it's just your volume of shots plus free throws and you ended up with 35.
Yeah.
Is he going to be able to accept being expected to score almost 20 points a game and on a clean percentage every single night?
Yeah. Well, and just thinking
without being the guy who gets 25 or so shots, 30 shots.
And just thinking about the logistics, if you had to bet $100 right now, do you think Bradley Beal is a Western Conference All-Star next season? being third banana on the Suns?
No.
Yeah, I mean, who knows how he's gonna feel when he's like, oh shoot, like I'm not even an all-star, you know?
Hey, I'm not disrespecting his scoring capabilities either, but when his statistics started to roll around when the Heat were really getting involved with the trade, and then they were like 3-time All-Star Bradley Beal, and I was like, 3 times?
Yeah.
I was like, 3 times isn't even that many. I mean, like, hey, that's 4 more All-Star appearances than I'll ever have.
Yeah.
But 3-time All-Star, I was like, what's all the fuss about? I mean, he's a good player, but what are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, and plus, I think when you're in the Eastern Conference, I think if you played for an Eastern Conference team, Petrie, I think you could get 1 or 2. So, I mean, we got Paul Millsap over here as like a 4-time
Kyle
All-Star.
Korver made it. I love Kyle Korver, but
yeah, I do too, and I love Paul Millsap, but he's like a 4-time All-Star. So, you know, the Eastern Conference.
Man, Al Horford is like a 5 or 6-time All-Star, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. So that's the magic sauce, man. You got to just play in the East, and I think the last 3 or 4 spots every year, they're just like looking for someone. You know, it's like, hey, you look like an NBA player. All right. So, any other points about Brad Beal, or should we focus a little more on Damian Lillard and the Miami Heat situation?
I think the Beal deal's fallen through. He's going to Miami. I'm telling you.
You know, I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest. Like, I don't know. There's just something about that Phoenix thing. It just doesn't. I don't think anyone's impressed by it. You know. I was kind of surprised when Beal waived the no trade clause to like even push the paperwork through, because I'm sitting there and I'm going, as I said, do they get better on paper? Sure, but do they get better enough? I don't know. Were the Heat one Bradley Beal away from beating the Nuggets in the finals this year? I'm not sure about that, but hey, they're a team that won a game in the NBA Finals. Can't hurt to have a 3-time All-Star still playing good basketball. We'll see. Yeah. So, I guess, kind of the rest of the summer for the NBA is dependent on what Damian Lillard decides to do. All indication is that Portland will honor his wishes. If he wants to be traded, that they'll trade him. It seems like right now they're trying to, trade the number 3 draft pick and build a contender around him. Seems like they're having a hard time doing that, though. I think Portland values this number 3 pick a lot more than everyone else does, partly because they have no leverage, maybe they'll get lucky with like Zion becoming available for trade and New Orleans just wanting to be out of the Zion Williamson business. But I don't know. What's your guys' take on this Portland situation?
Can we just talk about that draft class, though, first of all? Like, the stuff going on with Ja Morant, the stuff going on with Zion right now. I just think it's RJ Barrett starting to look nice right now. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
At least he's on the court.
Right. The Knicks are like, yeah, we told you RJ was the best.
Yeah, told you.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez.
And I'm not going to lie. If the kind of draft pick that RJ Barrett was, if you told me that was going to turn into a pretty much 15-ish a night kind of scorer, occasionally going to float around 20 or even 25, that's a pretty solid draft pick. If if you feel about every single one of your draft picks that they're a guy that can get 15 and could even float around 20 or higher, then you love that draft pick.
Yeah. Well, how weird would it be if you went back in time and told someone that night, you're like, RJ Barrett is definitely the worst basketball player in this top 3, but he's the best draft pick. You'd be like, what? Like, what's going to happen? And I mean, it is like movie type stuff, all the drama with Zion, Ja Morant, just, I don't know.
The Ja Morant stuff still does surprise me. Zion, I'm not, there are a lot of different words. Disappointed might be one, but would I say I'm surprised with the Zion stuff? No, not necessarily. I mean, hey, there's a lot of kids who have been told that they're the best thing smoking since the time they were 13, 14 years old, and they didn't pan out in the pros. I know Zion was physically gifted enough to get all the way to the number 1 pick and be called the next LeBron and yada yada. But guess what? When you get to the pros, every single person that goes to that draft was all conference this, all county that, all state, all ACC, all SEC, all Pac-12, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? Every kid was like that. So, Zion was gifted enough to bully the shit out of the little white kids that he was playing in high school and, whoever Duke played, I guess. But in the NBA, everybody's like that, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the drama that's going on between him and his lady friend that's a porn actress, like, that stuff doesn't even really bother me much. I mean, it's not like he's the only wealthy 22-year-old in the world that would do stuff like that. I feel bad for him that it's all becoming public, because how do you plan on that happening? But I mean, it's not like I'm offended by that drama that's going on, because I don't think it's super, like, it's not behavior where you're like, well, why would he do that?
Yeah. And how much money did the Pelicans give him?
Like $200 million over 5 years.
You ever seen the ones like this? It says, what is this right here? It's the world's smallest violin.
Yeah.
And then we say, what is this right here? That's the whole damn orchestra.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Cry me a river. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You knocked up a porn star, you're making $100 million, whatever.
Yeah. I feel bad for him that it's going public, but it seems to be at the worst time. The timing is bad. It's, while he's kind of being outed for being a crappy teammate, he's being outed for like, hey, this guy doesn't give a crap about basketball anymore.
What was the crappy teammate thing? I didn't see that.
Well, there's just been reports where people said that like there's a huge disconnect between him and the Pelicans and his teammates, and like they're not even like, just that he's not like emotionally present in the locker room.
I saw that as well. Yeah, that he's not particularly connected with the front office and also some of the teammates as well. But again, that goes back to what I was just saying a minute ago. That's what happens when every single middle school, high school, and college, every time you've done a free run in the gym, you've been, oh my God, thank Christ Zion Williamson is here. Oh my Lord. And now you're in the NBA where there's a bunch of dudes who are really like that, and they don't give a shit. They don't care how good you were in high school.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, like, he's not even working hard enough to be at a playing weight, like he's not keeping himself healthy enough that he can even stay on the floor. Every time he goes out to play, like he's getting hurt. It's because he's not taking care of himself, like.
Yeah. Everybody keeps wondering, like, what? Oh my goodness, what's happening with Zion? I'm like, did you ever try jumping 100 miles in the sky and landing with 300 pounds of straight force on your kneecaps? Did you ever try doing that?
Yeah, right. Imagine how the cartilage in there feels, man.
Not good for your body.
It's not tough. It's not like his meniscuses are made out of Kevlar or something. He's got the same stuff that we got going. So yeah.
No disrespect. I mean, he seems like a nice guy in the interviews and all the TV appearances and whatnot. But yeah, it's clear he doesn't really want to be an NBA player the way NBA players want to be NBA players.
Yeah. And so with all this being said, if you're the Portland Trailblazers and the Pelicans call you and they say, hey, like that number 3 pick, we're interested. You just got to give us Anthony Simons and then number 3, and we'll give you Zion. If you're Portland, what do you say to that? Because, well, let's give the context of Damian Lillard says that's good enough. Like, do the trade, let's run it back. And you're in that pickle as Portland's front office.
That goes back to the same thing that we were saying about the Suns, though, is, they get better on paper, but do they get better enough to be top 4 in the West? Are they even top 4 in the West? If it's Dame, Zion, and Cast, are they top 4 in the West?
I don't think so, to be honest.
Are they ahead of the Suns? Are they ahead of Denver? Are they ahead of LeBron, AD, and whatever the Lakers roll out next year? That's 3 right there off the top of my head.
Yeah. I don't know. And I think people are kind of sleeping on the Lakers too. Like, someone's going to have to prove it to me that the Lakers aren't the second best team in the West going into next year. I think they've shown that when LeBron and AD are healthy, like, they're the best team in the league besides the healthy Denver Nuggets.
It was interesting that when the Lakers and the Nuggets were in that Western Conference Finals, and a lot of those games were very, very close. And in the NBA, if a game is decided by, I don't know, like 7 or less, that could have gone the other way very, very, very easily.
Yeah.
10 points is nothing in the modern NBA.
I know this sounds weird because people think I'm stupid when I say this on Twitter. I'm a firm believer that the Lakers played the Nuggets better than anybody in this playoffs. And I know that they're the only team that got swept, but like you said, all of those games came down to the last 6 minutes. And it was just the Nuggets making the plays when they had to, the Lakers not being able to make those plays. But really, like, wire to wire, they were playing the Nuggets better than anybody else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm thoroughly convinced that the Lakers were the second best team in the NBA this year.
KCP and MPJ definitely had their best games against us. That was great.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I just remember watching in Italy at, I don't even remember what time in the morning it was, and I was just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
So bad. When Jokic hit that 3 going back, oh my God.
Yeah. Dude, that was bizarre too, because the Nuggets, like everyone on the Nuggets played insane against the Lakers. And then all their role players just kind of took a dump against Miami. You know, so I don't know.
I don't either.
So
what I'm trying to figure out is what you were doing watching NBA basketball in Italy, because I would have been wine drunk, pasta comatose.
Oh, no.
I would have been out.
Oh, I mean, my wife wanted to wake up to watch them. She's invested too, man. So we got up. We were watching the Warrior series in Croatia, and then in Italy. We were watching that series. We didn't wake up for every game. After
dedication.
After the first 2, we were like, okay, let's enjoy our honeymoon.
Yeah.
So I have some health issues that are, digestive related. I have Crohn's disease. And so in my 20s, I went on a few like backpacking through Europe trips. And so during the finals that the Cavs came back 3-1 against the Warriors, I was like bedridden, like super sick, pooping my guts out every 5 minutes in Poland, like streaming series from my phone from the bed. And so I was watching Kyrie hit that shot, to steal Game 7 at like 4 a.m. somewhere in Poland, on my deathbed almost. But yeah,
that's amazing.
So, dedication, dude. Hoops fans, right?
There we go.
The closest thing I have is the Rams and Bengals Super Bowl from a couple years ago. I was actually on my honeymoon when the Super Bowl was played, and they were playing it on the cruise. They were playing it in the main, like the Royal Theater. Yeah. And I said to Julie, my wife, I said, can we just go in there and check the score? And she was like, that's fine. I was like, can we stay and watch? And she said, absolutely fucking not.
Yeah, that's what my wife would have said too. So in that same situation. So all right, so let's I guess I still want to talk a little bit more about the Heat, Petrie. So I guess what's the plan if this Brad Beal thing turns into the Suns and Damian Lillard doesn't? Like, I don't know. It just blows my mind that the Heat could run it back again. My outsider perspective, and please tell me if you feel different, I think the Heat have shown that they've been the class of the East over the last 4 years. They've been there over and over again. But I think it's pretty clear that, like, right now, the East just doesn't have it when it comes to matching up with the West.
Yeah, and I think that what you said right there at the end is absolutely perfect. I ran into a Celtics fan in a bar earlier today, and we were talking about the last couple of Eastern Conference Finals. And he told me that in this finals, he felt that whoever was going to play Denver, you're booking your ticket to lose the NBA Finals. And I actually told him the same thing about the previous Eastern Conference Finals where we lost to the Celtics. The Celtics went on to play the Warriors. And I said, you're booking your ticket to lose to the Warriors. I said that at the time last year as well. I mean, the West is very, very good. The East has a ton of tremendously talented players. And if it was like an East versus West All-Star game, I'd say the East could could win just as many games as the West. They'd probably split them.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the overall team building, it seems like the West is slightly a cut above the East.
Yeah, and I actually think that's a common misconception right now is there's kind of a narrative that's been going on.
The West, what I mean is the West worst teams are better than the East worst teams.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's kind of been a narrative that like the East is catching up to the West over the last 2 years. I think after this finals, we should kind of rethink that idea. I'm with you that like the Stars, it seems more balanced on the top end, but I'm with you. Like when you're just cutting it down to actual basketball teams, like I mean, think the West is better.
If you really want to like put it in a certain way, you could say like, okay, let's say the East has 3 of the top 5 or 6 teams in the NBA, but then the West has like 6 of the next 8 or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So once you get past the top heavy nature of the East, once you get past the Heat, the Celtics, the Bucks, then once you get into the Western teams, those teams like the Clippers are the 5th best team in the West. You get into that kind of level where it's, the East might have 2 or 3 of the top 6 or so teams, but then the West has 5 of the next 6 or 6 of the next 8 or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I guess we kind of got diverted from the Heat angle. No, you're fine because I'm super fascinated by that. I could spend 20 minutes talking about East versus West right now.
No, the East versus West, you always do that. Instead of doing 8 seeds from the West and 8 seeds from the East, they just do the 16 top seeds.
Yeah.
Probably 12 or so of them would be from the 11 or 12 would be West.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think that's possible. But yeah, like what's the feeling out of Miami Heat land if you guys really just run it back? Like same,
Man, it's really tough to say that nothing will come of this. I always trust in Andy Ellsberg, Pat Riley. I always trust in them to make trades and try to figure something out with some free agent that maybe people weren't expecting. They had Jay Crowder 3 or so years ago, PJ Tucker. That wasn't one that came a couple of years ago. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I do think that they bolster the offense. Whether it's Dame or whether it's Beal, it doesn't matter. But I do think that they bolster the offense.
Yeah. Maddie, what's your take on the Heat right now? As a West Coast guy.
As a West Coast guy? I mean, if it's not Dame, like I don't know how. Like who are guys you're thinking, Petrie? Like to add?
Well, no, I mean I love Beal's game and I do love Dame's game, but apart from them, are the Heat going to look at the draft? Are they actually going to try to turn this 18th pick into? They're going to take some kid who was 3rd team All Pac-12 a year ago and turn him into the next 6th man of the year or something like that. What's going to happen with the Heat? Who knows what they're up to? They're always doing something or always cooking something. But as far as like, man, I wish I could even really say I like who they have. I like Hero. Hey, Hero's my guy. I like Duncan Robinson. I don't really love the idea of running it back, but got us to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, got us to the NBA Finals this year. Marginal improvements, right?
I'll tell you what, man. Go ahead, Maddie.
Well, I was going to ask, so like if you had, because I know, so a little bit, so if we were looking at the draft, right? I'm trying to word this without like actual names. What would be like a piece you would want to add? Like, would you want to add a big next to Bam? Would you want to add like a scoring guard? Like what type of player do you think he would benefit from adding?
Well, personally speaking, I'd love to have a point guard who can shoot threes. I'd love to have a point guard who can shoot threes. I know right as soon as I say that, you're going like, hey, you're going back to Damian Lillard. No, but I'd love to have a point guard who can shoot threes. Gabe Vincent has shown that he can be reliable. Kyle Lowry hits him on the fly every now and again, but I wouldn't call him reliable. You need to have in the modern NBA, you need to have a point guard who can handle the ball and who can also shoot the 3-point ball at a 35-ish, 38-ish, even close to 40% clip. So I'd love to see a point guard, but I just don't know what's going to be available at 18. I'm not
it's
so
it's
deep
so
into the
crazy
draft
to me
like that.
too. It's so crazy to me too. Like Bradley Beal, like just his mindset of like wanting to go to the Suns as someone that, you know, someone that's been by far the best player on his team for a few years now, you know, after John Wall left and whatnot. The opportunity to play in Miami, right? The opportunity to still be one of the guys, you know, next to Jimmy, have the opportunity to have the ball in your hands and play on a team that was just in the finals. Like it's crazy to me.
And he really would be that kind of guy because everybody wants to say Jimmy Buckets, and hey, Jimmy Buckets does his thing when he's called upon. But Bradley Beal is more of an authentic, natural scorer.
Yeah.
And so he really would be that guy when it comes down to the fourth quarter, a couple minutes to go. Yeah. Beal's the one who's going to shoot the ball, and Jimmy might be the guy who's off action. You know, it's.
So I feel like the Jazz. So you know when the Jazz made their run, they won 60 games, were the number 1 seed just like 2 seasons ago. I think they had a similar team construction in the sense of their 2 best players were Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Rudy was not necessarily an offensive presence. You know, he kind of helped facilitate offensive stuff, but he didn't do it directly.
A lot of offensive rebounds and shoots a fair percentage, but he's really not going to score more than 20.
For sure. But Bojan Bogdanovic was like maybe the 3rd, 4th, I would say 4th best player on the Jazz, but he was good for 20 a night. And he did it reliably, and he hit big shots. He hit big shots in big moments. And really, it was kind of a thing where if like Donovan wasn't feeling it, we could go to our 4th best guy and be like Bogey, it's you tonight, and he'd deliver. And I think the Heat sorely need a guy like that.
They sorely need a guy who's 8'9". Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you know, I'm with you. I think Beal could have been that. It's like a guy that. Yeah. You know, he just kind of punches above his weight on offense because the rest of the team is more of a defensive-minded built roster.
And it's crazy that you would say that because I was actually exactly about to say the same thing with Dame and Beal. They're capable athletes, and so they can defend from an athletic standpoint. But we're not expecting Damian Lillard and Bradley Beal to put the clamps on somebody.
Yep.
So guess what? Just focus on offense. Go out there, get 30 or 35 points a night, and have the time of your life.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you guys.
Except for Maddie, to address your point originally, guys like Beal and guys like Dame. We were talking about a little bit earlier. They got to have the balls to demand the trade, whether it's to Miami or whether it's not. It doesn't have to be Miami. I'm obviously a huge Miami Heat fan, so yeah. But sometimes you got to put your dick on the desk and show them what you pee with. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, trade me to Miami, and that's that. Or wherever it is that you want to go, trade me to whoever, and that's where I want to go. All right. Well, guess what? They're going to make it happen.
Yeah, and here's my thing with Dame, though, and why I worry. As you know, I have a lot of close friends that are diehard Miami Heat fans. I always hope the Heat do well. They're definitely one of my favorite teams in the Eastern Conference. Where I'm afraid that they've been a little bit misguided, as well run as they are, in just putting all their eggs in the Damian Lillard basket, is that he's already said like that Brooklyn is a place that he's okay with. Well, Brooklyn can just mop the floor with your guys' trade package.
But that's exactly what I'm just saying, that he has to have the balls to say it has to be Miami. But if he's not going to have the balls to say it has to be Miami, and he says, oh, okay, well, it can be Brooklyn, then there you go. With that trade, they're going to wipe the floor with the Heat.
Yeah, because Brooklyn can trade like 5 or 6 draft picks and Cam Thomas and send Ben Simmons on a flyer. I mean, not that that's a super valuable thing, but if you're Portland, why not?
Don't.
And then it's gonna, and then it's gonna be Damian Lillard and Cast in Brooklyn, and they're gonna be the Brooklyn Trailblazers.
Yeah, it's really. I'm with you.
Dame has to okay all of this. Dame has to say like, hey, you know, he does have a say so in the matter.
Yeah.
And now whether he wants to be assertive and say it has to be Miami, that's up to him. But he's thinking like, hey, Miami won a game in the NBA Finals. I go there. I think I'm the difference in at least one or two of those games.
Dude,
you as Damian Lillard, you're the elite all NBA talent that you are. You have to think that you're the difference in at least one or two NBA Finals games for the Heat.
I'll tell you what, if the Heat could move off of or if they could acquire Damian Lillard and give up like Tyler Hero and Caleb Martin and like 4 draft picks and Nikola Jovic. I mean, really, the only rotation piece from this run that they're missing is Caleb Martin, who I'm a big fan of.
Could have won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, if you ask me.
I agree. If they can get Damian Lillard for only losing out on Martin's production in this year's playoffs, I certainly can conceive them winning a finals with that roster, next season. But I think they're also going to run up against the idea of like, if you look at Portland's roster, I'm not sure Tyler Hero is going to be a piece that they're jumping up and down for. They already have Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe, and they're going to draft Scoot Henderson at 3. And I mean, if you're kind of comparing Hero to all those guys, it's like I'd rather have Henderson and Sharpe, and Simons is kind of equivalent, maybe a little less than Hero. So they're probably going to need a third team to make that deal work. It's not going to be easy for the Heat to get Damian Lillard to Miami.
And the real difficult thing, to your point right there about Hero, and you could say the same thing for Duncan Robinson, is unfortunately their contract is just too high. Yeah. It's just so high. And that's difficult to move forward. Now, in terms of salary matching, sure, it's going to go with Damian Lillard. Hey, you want to do Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson for Damian Lillard? Let's swap them 1 for 1 or 2 for 1 rather, and call it a day. But no,
I'm not sure
Hero's
you guys
contract and Robinson's contracts are too high.
I'm not sure you guys are getting rid of Duncan Robinson anytime soon. So
it's very difficult, man. I got to tell you, at the time of the contract, he was shooting like a top 3 to 5-ish kind of shooter in the whole NBA.
It's true.
At the time of the contract.
I remember seeing a graphic that it was like his true shooting percentage was like he was in rarefied air. It showed the list of like best true shooting percentage in a season, and the only guys under 6'10", it was like Steph Curry, Kyle Korver, Duncan Robinson. Right. And that was the season that he had just put together. So the Heat give him this deal. It looks fine, but within like 3 months, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, that was horrible."
Yeah.
But no one thought that the day that it was signed, to be fair to the Heat. So,
well, that's the Heat's problem. They pay him too much money to the guys that the white guys that are meant to only be the white guys on the team. All you got to do is shoot the threes, and sometimes they don't make the threes. So,
yeah. But, he kind of had a little bit of a redemption arc in the NBA Finals. Duncan put some solid outings together deep in the playoffs, and I was kind of rooting for him, to be honest, just because of how bad his contract looks right now.
If he would have been really getting around 20 points per game and making a few 3-pointers per game, like more consistently, he had a couple of games where he snapped, but if he would have been a little bit more consistent throughout, I've been like, okay, there we go. But
yeah.
Unfortunately, just not enough, obviously.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to NBA draft stuff. Got some good stuff coming. I know, Maddie is our resident draft expert.
I don't know about that.
Hey, you're the closest thing.
College basketball expert or college? I don't know.
Listen, I just want to be the first person on this program to say that I think that Victor Wembanyama is going to end up going number 1 overall to the San Antonio Spurs.
Breaking.
And listen, I don't know. I don't care if anybody thinks that's a hot take. I don't know if anybody thinks that's controversial, but I'm not hearing it. On About the Buckets, we bring the hot takes, the facts. We're bringing the real deal truth to the streets. And Victor Wembanyama will wear number 29 for the Spurs. I have no idea what he's wearing.
Dude, get this. I saw this headline today. Somebody bet $600,000. It was either $600,000 or $60,000.
Oh, 60 to win 300.
Yeah, the Victor would be the number 1 pick. Bet $60,000 to win $300. That's where the odds are at right now. So
Yeah, somebody said it was like minus 20,000. I remember when they first started talking about it, and I was like, well, it would have to be some, knock on wood, like unholy reason for him to not go number one overall.
Yeah.
But
he would have to, like, I mean, heaven forbid, sustain a massive injury in the next 12 hours.
yeah, like I said, knock on wood, it would have to be something crazy.
Even if they, like, his left arm got cut off, I'd still be like, well, do we still take him?
Like, did you see him throw out the first pitch at the Yankee Stadium? He almost kind of looked like he slipped a little bit on that on the mound out there. I was like, I don't know. He's looking
did
a little
he throw
wobbly.
it or did he hand it off?
Yeah, just drop it in from
like
90 feet. Like Monstar style.
Did you guys see that picture of him holding the baseball? It looked like a normal person holding a ping pong ball.
Yeah.
Jeez.
The guy is insane.
Or like a golf ball or something. Honestly, it looked like he was like pinching it like this. I was like, that's unbelievable.
Did you see the video of him getting off the plane and then like walking through the airport in New York? And the signs that hang from the roof that tell you where the gates are and transportation, he had to duck under those things.
Jesus.
I know. He's an alien. So.
But man, dude, it really is going to be a crazy draft. I'm definitely going to like leave y'all to it because I know you guys know a little bit more than I do. But man, isn't it kind of like nuts that obviously we have a generational talent, Wembanyama, but two other guys that might go number one overall in any other draft. Scoot Henderson looks nuts. I love Brandon Miller's game, but Scoot Henderson looks really, really good.
Yeah, he's a freak. He's a freak in the best kind of way. I'm a big fan of both of them. So, all right, man. So did you say that you were jumping out, or you?
No, I'm gonna. Like I said, I'm definitely gonna leave y'all to it. Wemby number one, probably Brandon Miller 2.
Hey, you guys
Scoot
heard
Henderson
it.
3.
You guys heard it here first from Petrie. Wembanyama number 1.
I'll let them do
Insider.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
All right.
Hey, Matty, it was great meeting you for the first time, brother. Jordan, as always, it's been a pleasure, my brother.
Yeah.
Great meeting you, man.
Thanks, man.
Y'all be great.
Yep.
Cheers.
Take care, man. All right. Obviously, big thanks to Petrie for coming on for the last 40 minutes with us, and then but let's chop it up and talk some draft, man.
I know, we got it.
So, any objections to Petrie's call of Victor Wembanyama going number 1?
Yeah, no.
Right.
I'm just joking. So yeah, I mean, do we need to talk? I feel like we've talked about him a lot, but
yeah,
I mean, it's just, I think the thing I always mention about him is seeing him, like, obviously what he does on the floor and stuff, on the court and game and whatnot. But dude, like, I don't know if you've ever seen his workouts of him doing like, I don't know what it's called, like balance exercises and everything. Like, there's a reason why he's so coordinated with the body that he has.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to see. There's no one of that size, stature that's, been able to do the things that he can do.
Yeah. So I can't say this in the affirmative or negative for Brandon Miller, so I'm not even going to try. But how crazy is it that we have this draft class where Wembanyama, obviously an otherworldly talent, Scoot Henderson is, I mean, probably what you'd call a generational talent. I mean, if he's being compared to Derrick Rose and John Wall, it's hard to get much better as a point guard prospect, right?
Yeah.
But both of them love basketball, and both of them have a maniacal work ethic, and both of them just live for competition. Like, I mean, we talked about the Zion and the Ja Morant draft class. Like, this couldn't be more opposite. Like, those were two awesome prospects, and look at where both of them are. They're struggling to stay on the floor because of their personal life, whereas with Wemby and Scoot, it seems like the complete opposite. Like, I don't think you could take basketball from these guys.
No, not at all. And it's, I mean, like Petrie said too, he said at first, you really, after Wemby, you have two guys, in my opinion, that would go number 1. I think we even talked about this on another show in the past. I don't even know how many drafts.
Yeah. Would you take Scoot over Anthony Edwards out of college?
I would take Scoot over him, yeah.
Yeah, and
just
that's
because I
props for
watched
Edwards.
I watched Anthony Edwards. That I thought that was going to be a really weak draft class.
Yeah.
I thought Anthony Edwards was the number one, but like Scoot is by far, the better talent coming out.
So should we get right into our mock draft?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
so how are we doing this?
Well, I was going to ask you the same thing. Is there a specific structure that you want to do with this?
So did you want to just like go through each team and like list names and why we think they're going to take them, or?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm trying to find a piece of paper so that I can be organized and not be selecting players twice.
Well, no. So I'm thinking we can just list a couple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, hey, this guy, but I could see this guy if this guy falls or something. Yeah. It doesn't have to be exact.
Okay, so let's go NBA draft order. Sorry, I'm going to pull up the order so that I.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Brain fart. Okay, so obviously, let's not dwell too much on the first three picks. Obviously, Wembanyama is going number one.
Yeah, who do you have number two?
So, I would personally take Scoot at number two, but Woj and other people are saying that it's Brandon Miller. And that, did you see those reports? Since they both did their second workout, Woj has said that like they're fixed on Brandon Miller, and that's fine. I saw that. I don't think it's dumb. I don't think Charlotte's dumb. It's just not what I would do.
Yeah.
So, how are you feeling? Would you take Brandon Miller?
I'll be honest with you. I actually feel the opposite. I would still take Brandon Miller over Scoot. Okay. I think, yeah.
I don't think it's a ridiculous opinion. It's
because the fact of the matter is we have no idea what's going to happen, right?
For sure. And I think, it's hard to compare to different years, apples to apples. But if you use like Markelle Fultz and Jason Tatum, like the Celtics were right in that because, their front office's thought process was like, you can get a Markelle Fultz in a number of different ways, but you can only get Jason Tatum by picking this high in the draft. A Jason Tatum, a 6'9" wing that can handle, play defense, shoot, lead your team in scoring. Like, that's not a guy that comes around very often. And when he does, he's one of the 10 best players in the NBA.
Yeah, and that's my thought process too, just because of the ability to impact the game in multiple ways because of his size and his defensive ability as well.
Yep, and I think that's extremely valid. Like, I would take Brandon Miller third, no question. So, are you fine if we pencil in Brandon Miller at 2 for Charlotte, and then Scoot for 3? Whoever selects at 3, I would assume it's going to be Portland.
I think no matter what, that's the top 3 for sure.
Yeah,
and then
it might. Who knows? It might be New Orleans. It might be Toronto if Toronto decides to do something. But yeah, I think Scoot's going 3. So number 4. This is kind of interesting, but there's only this 4 is kind of the only other selection where all the other experts agree on who's going number 4. And it seems like everyone thinks it's Amen Thompson.
Yeah. Am I getting the brothers' names mixed up? Amen is the one that plays more like a point guard, right?
Correct. And it's Asar is the one who played wing.
More like wing. Okay. Yeah, that's who I have number 4 as well.
Okay. And then 5. This is kind of where the draft starts, right?
Yeah.
Detroit Pistons are on the clock.
This is where it starts.
Yeah. So the Detroit Pistons are on the clock. There's been rumors that apparently the Utah Jazz have been in talks with Detroit to move up. They've been linked to Jarris Walker. They've been linked to Anthony Black, which, oh my gosh, I'd not be happy if they trade up to 5 to take Anthony Black.
I don't think they would do that to get.
Yeah. I honestly just don't want them to trade up. I think one of these guys is going to drop to 9. Whether it's Walker, whether it's Asar Thompson, Taylor Hendricks, something. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself with the Jazz talk. So the Pistons are on the clock.
Who I have. Okay. Who do you have?
If you're Detroit, because they have 2 ball handlers in Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, I would go Jarris Walker at 5.
Okay. So I did this 2 days ago, and we had talked about Cam Whitmore dropping, right?
Yeah.
And based on everything I had seen, I had still kind of had him in there, but I actually switched this to Jarris Walker as well.
Okay.
Just because I feel more confident about it. I think he worked out for them as well.
Yeah.
I just think, he has one of the most NBA ready bodies. His size and speed speaks for itself. I think he has like a 7'3" wingspan.
Yeah.
Someone that can impact the game in multiple ways too. He's a good defensive player. I think his versatility is really underrated, to be honest. And I think he would be more talked about if, Wembanyama and, these other two guys that, could be number one picks weren't, in this class.
So I've been trying to watch some, more highlight reels tape of him at IMG Academy in high school. He did a lot more face up stuff in high school. Houston didn't really let him handle the ball. They didn't let him kind of be an on ball face up kind of guy, but like he did that in high school and he looked good doing it. So I'm with you.
And he's developing the jump shot too. Like he started.
He was what, like 43% catch and shoot threes, something like that.
I don't know for catch and shoot, but I know he was around like high 30s just overall. I think around there.
Yeah, catch and shoot, he was over 40%, man.
Yeah,
like that's awesome. Can't ask for much more out of a ripped 6'8" power forward.
Plus his comp is Paul Millsap, so I know you love that.
Yeah, and I think that's on I don't think that's even close to his ceiling though.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So one of the guys that is in the Jazz, podcasting sphere, and he's done a lot of homework on this draft. So he said that he thought if Jarris Walker reaches 70% of his potential, he's Paul Millsap. He said if he reaches 100%, he thinks he's Kawhi Leonard.
Wow.
Yeah. And if you look at his measurements, the only guys that kind of had his height, weight, athletics kind of group, it was pretty much just Kawhi Leonard and Tari Eason, and there's one other guy. Yeah, because
Tari Eason had some huge hand measurements.
OG Anunoby was the other guy.
Oh, yeah.
It's Kawhi Leonard, OG Anunoby, Tari Eason.
I can't remember 100%, but his shuttle runs and everything too. Like he actually was pretty quick in the lane agility drills.
Yep. So, so we're together on that. We think Detroit selects 5. Is there any teams that you think legitimately try to trade up, or do you think Detroit makes that pick?
I'm trying to think of who would trade up for that. I mean, you said the Jazz.
Yeah.
There was who was the other team that was rumored to trade up? I saw it on Twitter today. I saw it really quick, but I wasn't able. It wasn't okay. No, we'll have to go back to that. I'll see if I can find it. But I don't think besides Utah. I don't know because There's no guy right there. It just depends on who falls, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, in that 5 to 8, 9 range.
Yeah, I think trading up for Anthony Black there doesn't make any sense.
No,
so I think unless the Jazz really want Jarris Walker or Asar Thompson, why even waste the assets to get to number 5?
Yeah,
I'd be pretty upset to be honest. I actually don't even want to trade up for Jarris Walker unless it's a good deal, Yeah. If Detroit is give us 9 and a future pick, then sure. But if it's 9 and 16 and then a future pick, no.
And once we get to Utah, I think someone's gonna fall.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect spot for someone to fall.
Yep.
Especially when we look at team needs and stuff. Did you want to get into where are we? Number 6, right?
Yep. Orlando.
Yeah. Okay, Orlando.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw this, but I saw some rumblings that they might take a point guard or a guard and that they would look to trade either Cole Anthony or Jalen Suggs.
Yeah.
I know that they worked out Anthony Black. I know that I think that they were big on Amen too. I'm leaning between those two, to be honest.
Yeah. Asar.
Asar, sorry.
Yeah.
No, you're good. Asar.
Yeah.
Sorry, I told you I keep getting them mixed up.
No, you're good.
I could see them going either which way. If they're really truly set on trading one of them, then I think it's Anthony Black.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pencil in Anthony Black here.
I definitely get that. I mean, if you look at they have some great foundational pieces in Franz Wagner, who's a wing. You know, he's kind of one of these wings that is multi-talented. He can do a little bit of ball handling. They have Paolo Banchero. They have Wendell Carter. Kind of just need some backcourt guys, you know. I think Anthony Black is a great pick for them at 6. I'm with you. I think they go Anthony Black.
Oh wow. Okay. So we're like pretty.
Yeah,
are we 100% right now with each other?
I think you would have taken Miller at 2. I would have taken Scoot, but I think we were in agreement. We were in agreement in predicting Miller at 2, though.
Okay.
So, yeah, because I'm going like what I think will happen, not what I think should happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Number 7, Pacers.
Okay.
Who do you have here?
So, I was listening to the Jazz beat writer talking on a local radio show.
Mm-hmm.
He said he is convinced, based on everything he's heard around the league, that Indiana is going big at number 7.
Oh.
That their first preference is Jarris Walker, that their next preference is Taylor Hendricks. So I'm going to go Taylor Hendricks at 7.
Okay. Taylor Hendricks. Okay. So I went with a different thought process.
Okay.
This guy plays big. Trying to think. Plays big. Very physical wing. A guy that we've talked about multiple times. I think it's going to be Cam Whitmore.
Okay. I can see that. I mean, they have Miles Turner, and then they have Mathurin and Halliburton. So they need some wing guys, right?
Yeah. Well, I think Hendricks could even be almost a wing guy too, because he's so versatile. That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
I just didn't think of that in that way.
Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing with Whitmore. I know he might fall. There's been some people saying that his medicals were not ideal.
Yeah.
So I get that he's going to fall. He doesn't really do anything fantastic besides be athletic. So I get it, but like one of these teams is going to feel like the value is just too good.
Yeah.
So I think any one of these teams that have been like predisposed to a certain type of guy, like Indiana wanting bigs, why not take Cam Whitmore? Like if he was 4th on your board, why not take him?
Yeah.
Let's see. Who do I
have?
have
next?
Black. And then, sorry, I'm just writing this down. So Black at 6, and then I had Hendricks.
Yeah, you had Hendricks.
Okay, and then at 8. This is kind of a trendy pick. But I'm going to go for another curveball.
Okay.
And I'm going to say at number 8, the Washington Wizards select Kobe Buffkin.
Okay. A guard?
Yep.
He's an off-ball guard, right? I watched some highlights of him. Is he like a secondary playmaker too?
So he's been a late riser because teams think that he can be the main guy, like a primary ball handler and distributor.
Yeah.
I know the Jazz are huge on Buffkin. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Jazz take him at number 9.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. So I'm going with a guy that I could see. So this is weird to say. I could see him going top like at 7 or 8, or I could see him dropping out of the lottery.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know. It's just when I say the name, you'll understand why. I'm going to go with actually Kasem Wallace here.
Okay.
I like his two-way ability. I think he has the highest floor out of like outside these top 3 guys.
Yeah.
Just because of his defensive ability, and it's such a high level. Definitely needs to improve offensively. I think that we saw steps of that, towards the end of college. Kentucky was definitely better when he started playing the point position. I think he goes 8, but I mean, I could see him going all the way down to like the Lakers almost taking him. So it's kind of like a wild card pick for me here. I'm just,
No, I get it. I think if Black is off the board, I think Washington's deciding between Bufkin and Wallace.
Oh,
so yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I think they're drafting a point guard. And I will admit, like, me choosing Bufkin is mostly because he's kind of the hot name right now. But I think it's Bufkin or Wallace.
More of a solidified scorer too, for sure.
Yeah, and so that leaves my Jazz at number 9.
I want to hear yours first.
Well, based on how my board has gone, like, I would be furious if the Jazz did not take Ausar Thompson here. Because I have him dropping this far. Like, the Jazz just better do that or I'll be pissed. They better.
Well, so you have Ausar, but what if Taylor Hendricks is still on the board?
I would still take Ausar. I love Taylor
Really?
Hendricks. I love Taylor Hendricks.
Okay.
And I think Jarace Walker and Taylor Hendricks are the most seamless fits for the Jazz as their roster is constructed. But I say Thompson because, again, I've been consuming a lot of Jazz media. Apparently, the Jazz believe that Ausar Thompson is a future point guard. Like, they fully believe that he has the skill set to be a lead ball handler and distributor like his brother Amen. So I think getting the opportunity to draft a super athlete who's 6'7" and projects as your future point guard, I think the Jazz cannot pass that up.
Quick thing. I just got a notification that the Boston Celtics are finalizing a deal to acquire Kristaps.
Oh, nice.
So a 1-on-1. So I'll wait until I'll let you know when the details come out.
Interesting.
But no, I honestly really like Taylor Hendricks. It was someone I only saw him play one game because they played Miami.
Yeah.
So I saw him in one game. I was impressed with him. It was the start of the season though, so it was before, you get into the grind of it. I just love his versatility on both sides of the floor. I'm sure, as you know, since you've looked at all these guys that are projected to go, I just like the fit. I think that he can be a future all-star too. So I have him going to the Jazz at number 9.
Yeah, which I would be very happy with. As a Jazz fan, the guys that I would be pumped about is if Jarace Walker fell, he would be my favorite pick. If Taylor Hendricks was there, I would be very happy. If Ausar Thompson fell there, I'd be very happy. If Cam Whitmore fell there, I'd be very happy because I've been high on Cam Whitmore. I would say I've cooled a little bit just with all the uncertainty. But I think if he's there, if Hendricks, Walker, and Thompson are off the board, I'm taking Cam Whitmore, and I feel great about it.
Yeah, because, I mean, we talked about this. Obviously, you wanted Wemby, right? We were in the Wemby sweepstakes. But, I mean, you got to look at the Jazz. They're in, like, prime position to get one of those. Because I feel like after those, like, top 10 guys, there's kind of a drop-off,
Yeah.
I think any of those top 10 guys could be, like, top 2-3 picks in previous drafts, right? Just because of the potential. I think that this top 10 is like one of the best we've seen in a while. And I think this is going to be a pick that you look back and you're like, holy shit, the Jazz got this person at 9? Like, that's insane,
I hope so. That's the dream, right?
Yeah, that's the dream. So, but yeah, should we get into number 10?
Yes.
So number 10, I actually had Ausar I keep getting them mixed up. Now I'm like second guessing
Yeah,
myself.
it is Asar. Yeah.
Asar Thompson, yeah. Going to the Mavericks. You know, I know you said that the Jazz project him to be point guard. I know right now he's kind of been like that off-ball role, kind of more of a consistent shooter, right, than his brother.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the fit there. And I think it's definitely best available when you look at who else is left on the board.
Yeah. So let's see. Where I'm at number 10, Cam Whitmore is still there.
Okay.
And I think you're at the point where he just needs to go. Like, he's too athletic. He's too good. I would guess, you know, based on the Dallas Mavericks situation, how they have Luka, they're trying to get Kyrie, they're trying to put pieces around them to keep Luka happy. I would actually guess that they trade out of this spot. That somebody, I know Utah's discussed it. You know, there's been a rumor that Utah is talking about trading 16 and 28 and moving up into that 10 spot and taking on Davis Bertans' contract.
How stoked would you be if they got Thompson and they got Taylor Hendricks?
Yes, I'd be very excited.
How stoked would you be? Yes.
Yes, very stoked. Yeah, and so I think Cam Whitmore is probably the guy here, but I think if you're Dallas, you're just thinking like, you know, what helps me more? What I can trade Cam Whitmore for or Cam Whitmore? So I think they probably trade. I think they'd probably want to take Derek Lively for some reason. You know.
Did you? Yeah. Sorry. Trade.
But yeah, like Derek Lively's even been saying, like, I love Dallas. I want to play in Dallas. You know, like.
It's so crazy to me. I texted you about this.
Yeah.
Derek Lively barely played in college, didn't have a defined role for Duke, you know. Maybe that's just, you know, bad coaching, whatever, what have you. It can happen. The dude goes to a workout, hits like 12 threes in a row.
Yeah.
And suddenly he's the stretch center that can do all this stuff, and he's the most versatile offensive player. Yeah. He doesn't even have a post game, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about him being a lottery pick. But this isn't about what I think. This is like, you know, projecting whatnot. Maybe this will be my Walker Kessler of this year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yes. So, okay. So I'm taking Cam Whitmore at 10. Like I said, I think it's probably a trade. Do you want me to tell you, do I have to come up with a team that does the trade?
No,
or, okay. I think Dallas, I think Dallas trades out of this spot.
Okay.
And I think a number of teams are excited to get there, whether it's Oklahoma City, whether it's Utah, you know, whether it's Atlanta. I think Atlanta could be a team that, you know, is like 15 and DeAndre Hunter for number 10, and then they take Cam Whitmore, you know, something like that. I could see stuff like that happening. Clint Capella in 15 maybe for number 10 and Davis Bertans. If Atlanta's just like, yeah, we got to have Cam Whitmore. Love him.
It'd be so funny if Atlanta traded John Collins and took number 10 and selected Taylor Hendricks, who literally is like almost identical.
Yeah. So I already have Hendricks off the board though. It's 7.
No, I know. I'm just saying it would be funny.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, at 10 I have Cam Whitmore to a team that's not Dallas.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So at 11 we have Orlando again with a second pick.
Okay. Did you want to talk about the trade? I don't know if more details came up. Washington's completing a 3-way deal with Boston and Memphis that'll send Tyus Jones to the Wizards.
What?
Yeah. So I don't know how I feel about my Cason Wallace pick now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very interesting. But how old is Tyus Jones? I wouldn't think that he's like a piece that you're wanting to rebuild around. I mean, he's good.
He has to be. He was the same draft class as Jahlil Okafor. That was probably like.
He's 27.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, 27. So, damn, I'm good at that. was going to say 8 years ago and he was 19. I was going to say 27. Damn.
Yeah. So I would imagine if you're Washington, you're just thinking like Tyus Jones is a hot name. He's going to be a hot commodity. There's a lot of teams that need a point guard. Like, this is our best way to get value for Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah. But then what are the Grizzlies thinking? Now they have no...
Did they get Malcolm Brogdon?
Oh, maybe.
I bet they got Malcolm Brogdon or Marcus Smart.
That makes sense then.
Yeah. Because Brogdon was in the trade earlier going to the Clippers. So I bet Brogdon's in it again, unless it's Smart. But
yeah, we'll just have to see what it says. Sorry. So we were at number 11?
Yeah, it's Orlando's up. So
yeah.
We agreed on Orlando taking Anthony Black at number 6.
Yes. So who do you have going here then?
Well, let's see. Wow, it's Marcus Smart. Boston
wow.
Marcus Smart to Memphis. Up. Look at me.
Great call.
Yeah, thank you. Interesting. Okay. So taking Anthony Black, I'm looking at the board here. I think it's
two names.
I think it's too early for Jordan Hawkins. I think it's too early for Keontae George.
I think we're on the same page here, though. So what we're looking at.
I'm going to say, because they took Black, he's a non-shooter right now. We've talked about how they kind of have their front court. It's Wagner, it's Banchero, and it's what's the other guy? Wendell Carter.
Yeah,
I'm going Grady Dick at 11.
Going some Black Dick.
If that's what they prefer, I'm fine with it.
Yep. I have Grady Dick on here, but then I also, because you already had Kobe Buffkin off the board, so those were the two names I had.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't know enough about Kobe Buffkin. I know what you said about him rising, so I would lean to Kobe Buffkin because I know Grady Dick hasn't had the best. What's the word? I think that has come up if I'm thinking of the right person, I think some of his workouts were kind of But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I think Black and Buffkin would be an awesome pair.
Yeah.
I think Buffkin, he's a good shot maker. He also is a pretty good defender too.
He is.
I actually think he's going to be a pretty solid lead guard, but I think putting him with a guy like Black, who's 6'7", and is like, I think that's awesome. That's an awesome tandem for Orlando to get.
Yeah. Welcome, Orlando.
Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't put Cason Wallace with him, but I think in your scenario, Orlando's a lot happier getting Buffkin and Black than getting Anthony Black and Grady Dick in my scenario.
So should we go next pick?
Yeah, and it's OKC at 12.
Yeah, I think we might actually have the same pick here. I feel like, tell me who you're taking, Jordan.
Dude, the most OKC pick of all time. Like, the most Sam Presti pick of all time is Bilal Coulibaly.
Yep. Oh, thank God.
Like, that has Sam Presti written all over it.
Absolutely. I'm so glad we were on the same page with that. I was waiting for you to say his name. Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. Dude did you see Victor Wembanyama advocating for the Spurs to trade up to try to get him?
Yeah.
I love it. Dude is a freak.
Yeah.
Like, I've only seen, like, there's a short list of names where you just, like, watch them on film, and, like, the way he jumps, the way he moves, you're like, holy shit, this is like Vince Carter or something. You know what I mean? Like, kind of similar to like Shaedon Sharpe and his mixtapes and everything, but I think he's going to be really good. Good shooter too. I think he shot over like 40-something%, right? From 3.
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing how he develops. That Thunder team is going to be really fucking good.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The young
Yeah.
talent that they're just assembling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
All right. So where are we at? We're at 13. Toronto on the
Raptors.
board.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking. There was another. They were talking about draft picks. We are at Toronto. So I have two names here.
Dude, the Grizzlies are sending 2 first-round picks to the Celtics.
I know, that's what I was looking at.
What in the world?
Well, so there has to be more names, right? Like who's
Dude, how did the Celtics get Kristaps Porzingis and 2 first-round picks for Marcus Smart?
I don't understand what's going on.
What? I mean, the 2 trades make sense in a vacuum. I just don't understand how Boston is getting so much value for Marcus Smart.
There has to be something else coming out, right?
So Memphis is trading Tyus Jones and 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, there's no right
for Marcus Smart. And Washington, I bet you one of those picks goes to Washington. That's the only way that this makes sense.
Oh my god.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
By
the way,
I bet you they revise it and they're like, oh, that 24 Warriors pick is going to Washington. But even still, if Boston gets Porzingis and 1 first-round pick for Marcus Smart, that's bananas.
Oh man, you gotta love this. Is a more active deadline or draft already than last year.
Yeah. Okay, so 13. Do you have yours teed up? Because I know who I'm gonna pick.
Yeah. Sorry, this is all. I have 2 names here.
Okay.
I have Jalen Hood-Schifino.
Mm-hmm.
And I have Grady Dick.
Okay. We're thinking along the same lines.
Okay. I'm going to lean and say Jalen Hood-Schifino. Yeah, someone that impressed me. I think his consistency from deep is kind of the thing that, will take him to that next level. I think it just seems like a Raptors pick to me, to be honest. That, tall guard with scoring ability.
Yeah. So I think in my scenario, the Raptors are jumping up and down because Cason Wallace just fell to them at 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I think no brainer, Fred VanVleet is probably leaving. Cason Wallace just fits like a glove with Toronto. So, and I think he's the best player available for Toronto as well. So yeah, I'm going Cason Wallace at 13 in my draft.
Okay.
Okay, who's at 14? And I guess this rounds out the lottery.
Yeah, this one I actually 14 Pelicans. This one I wasn't sure about. This is the one that I was like, I could see a couple guys. I think it's gonna be a guard, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking either Jordan Hawkins or I'm thinking Grady Dick again.
Okay.
Third pick in a row, Grady Dick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Grady Dick just because I want Jordan Hawkins to fall to the Lakers. So that's an option we have.
Yeah.
So I'll say Grady Dick.
Okay. And let's see. Who's their point guard line? Do they have CJ McCollum running point right now?
Yeah, they have CJ running point.
Okay. Then, oh man, I hate this because I'd love for him to fall to 16 if the Jazz needed him. But I'm going to go Jalen Hood-Schifino at 14. I think that just makes a lot of sense for the Pelicans.
That does.
I wouldn't be surprised though if like they just did some off the wall pick and took a guy like Jaime Jaquez. Because like if you think about the Pelicans, that's probably a little too early for him. But like
Yeah,
the
I would
Pelicans
say.
desperately need an adult in the room. And like from everything I've read about Jaime Jaquez, like that's just kind of who he is.
I love Jaime Jaquez.
Yeah, I know he's a little older, but
Mhm.
like, don't you think he would add like a level of intensity, like just another guy in the locker room that'd be like, Zion, let's friggin' do this, man. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason why those UCLA teams were so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I I would say it's a little early, but I mean, if you think he's a guy that can make a difference like that, then yeah.
If
Because I
you're
mean,
the
this is the point
Pelicans,
of the draft, like the area where I'm like, I mean, there's guys you can kind of take a fly on. Like if you really think Nick Smith can really,
yeah,
get to the level where he was projected to be, or some other guy, but
yeah. So I'm gonna ask you as a favor because I'm a Jazz fan. Can we go to pick 16? Just 2 more picks.
yeah. So I had planned that we would do 16 and then 18 for the Heat.
Okay, well let's do it then. Let's just go all the way to 18.
Oh, you want to just go all okay?
Why not? Why not? Because context matters, right?
Okay, who's 15?
15 is Atlanta.
Okay, Hawks, and then 16 is Jazz.
Yeah.
And then who was 17?
The Lakers.
Oh yeah,
It's Jazz, Lakers, Heat is 16, 17,
Oh,
18.
I should have just gone to 18.
Yeah.
I did them separately.
Yep.
Okay.
That's why I figured let's just go to 18. Then we're
Okay.
hitting all the important teams.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
So 15, man, the Hawks. I mean, like I said, I'm thinking it's probably Dallas that is sitting here at 15. But I'm just gonna pick for the Hawks if that's okay.
Yeah.
Man, they can do so many things. Like their cap sheet is a mess. I've been yelling into the void for like 3 years now, and Hawks Twitter always gets mad at me when I'm like, "This is a mess." Like their cap sheet's a mess. They can't pay all these guys. The Hawks have done themselves the disservice of drafting decent guys in the first round every year.
Yeah.
Not many of them are great. Trae Young is great. I'll give that to him. Onyeka Okongwu, if I said that right. I think he's an awesome prospect. All the other guys are good enough to be overpaid on their second contract, but not good enough to help you win a title. So they're kind of in a mess. So it just depends. And it's hard to know if they're like, okay, we're going to jettison Capella. We're going to jettison John Collins, DeAndre Hunter. People are saying that DeJounte Murray's even available. So it's kind of tough to make the pick here. I am going to say that they take Jordan Hawkins. Just get some shooting.
We're kind of in the same headspace. I have them taking someone else though.
Yeah.
I have them taking Keontae George actually out of Baylor.
Okay.
Did I already have? I don't even remember. Oh no, I didn't have George Hawkins going.
Okay. So that brings it to the Jazz on the clock at 16.
Yes.
Man.
You go first because I'm kind of looking at this right now. I didn't.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this one. So I had the Jazz taking Ausar Thompson at 9.
Mm-hmm.
They have Lauri Markkanen as a tentpole piece. They have Walker Kessler as a tentpole piece. So their front court's taken care of. I do think that they could draft a power forward to slot next to Lauri. I think he definitely can be your 3. But taking Ausar Thompson kind of satisfies the lead ball handler role. So I'm going to go Keontae George here at 16 for the Jazz. I know that they are big fans of him. He's a name that the Jazz have been consistently linked to at 16. I think getting Oscar Thompson at 9 kind of makes George a no-brainer. I would actually love to watch the Jazz throw out a Colin Sexton, Oscar Thompson backcourt. I just think like Sexton is such an underrated shooter. He's pretty much 50, 40, 85 every year. You know, like he's a good shooter from every spot on the court, which I don't think people think of when they think of Colin Sexton. But yeah, him next to Oscar Thompson, who's a plus defender, like that would be fun. But yeah, I'm going Keontae George here.
Okay. So I know I told you this guy. I know I told you I wanted this guy to fall to the Lakers, but I actually have him going to the Jazz here. You'll be able to tell me more if they're even linked to him because I have no idea. But I just like him as a prospect, and that's Jordan Hawkins. Okay.
So I have not heard that they're linked to him. However, I think he fits what they're trying to do.
Yeah. I think so too. Because obviously I had Taylor Hendricks, right?
Yeah.
Going to them. I knew I had to be a guard.
Yeah.
So it was between him and Nick Smith. Mm-hmm. I just don't see them, kind of trying to take a flyer on Nick Smith.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I went.
Yeah.
Was Jordan Hawkins.
And I think with Keontae George off the board, you have Wallace, Bufkin, Hood Schifino off the board. Like if I was picking on your board as well, I think probably Jordan Hawkins there.
Yeah, because if any of those other names that we said dropped, I think that I would pick them over Jordan Hawkins. It's very likely one of them could drop, and that would be best case scenario.
Yeah.
But if that happens, you gotta love what the Jazz will do then.
Yeah.
And then Lakers.
Yes. So the Lakers, man. I'm trying to look at my board here. Man, now
I actually really think they actually trade this.
Okay.
For some role players, solid like rotation players. If I had to pick someone that if they do, if one of those other guards doesn't drop, I guess I would say Nick Smith Jr.
There's your D'Angelo Russell replacement.
Yeah, I guess.
A guy that you don't want to touch the ball in the last 4 minutes. I'm just kidding.
It's so crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, to me, the worst case scenario for the Lakers would be if all those guards are off the board and they're just kind of looking at a board that's, then I think that they go the route of maybe James Nagy or I don't even know besides him, maybe a Leonard Miller or something outside of that. But it's, that's kind of, for me, the guards in this class are what are special,
Yeah.
But yeah, who do you have here?
So you're going to hate me.
Oh, but God.
I think they need to, though. Based on their roster, I'm going to say Derek Lively. I have Derek Lively dropping all the way down.
Honestly, I don't hate that. He made 14 threes in a row in a workout, and I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But, because you brought up James Nagy, and we've talked about this. I think Nagy is going to be an awesome pick at like 25. Yeah. But if Derek Lively's still on the board and the Lakers are thinking about James Nagy, they should just pick Derek Lively.
Honestly, he was. I was thinking he wasn't on my board too. But yeah, Derek Lively. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I think it cuts AD some slack, throughout the regular season, especially if he's a guy that you can just throw out there and let him play average defense and do a little bit of rim running. Yeah, I think it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. You know what? I'm actually going to change my Lakers one to Derek Lively.
Okay. Is
that cheating?
No.
Because I completely forgot that he was on the board, and that actually makes more sense to me than I don't even think they worked out Nick Smith, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
I know. I want to say that they worked out. I have it up right here. I want to say that they worked out Lively.
Yeah.
But what's the next one we have?
The Miami Heat, and this is the last pick that we're doing.
Oh yeah. Okay. I don't know where to go. You heard me ask Petrie, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know where to go here if it is someone to play next to Bam, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think if Lively's there, then maybe you go with Lively. But then at the same time, like if you don't get Dame and you don't get the Beal trade falls through, or whatever.
Yeah.
To me, it's like you have to have a guy that can create offense.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take this one a little more in depth. I guess it would be like Nick Smith if he's still on the board. But the other guy I'm kind of looking at, and I think that the Heat actually worked him out, is, I don't know if you know about this guy, is Brandon Podziemski. Podziemski.
I've heard about him, but I haven't watched him.
Yeah, he's from Santa Clara. He's a lefty.
Mm-hmm.
I like his game. He's a well-rounded offensive player. I think that he's what they need. There's been a lot of connecting of Jet Howard to the Heat. I just don't really. I feel like you're just going to get in another position of where you already have guys that score off ball that aren't going to create for themselves, in Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, right? I don't know what their contract situation is, but you saw what that did. To me, it's like you have to have some guys that can create for themselves. That's what they're really missing when I'm watching them on offense. Nick Smith is a guy. I guess they could go like the Chris Murray route too.
Yeah.
If they wanted to go someone like a little bigger, someone with some size. I think that Noah Clowney has some potential too.
Yeah.
Could potentially become like a stretch big as well. Pretty versatile. That's kind of what I would look at.
Yeah. So I think your Nick Smith idea is actually pretty great here.
Yeah.
I could see. I could see that. So I would say Nick Smith, or another name that I've already mentioned, and I think this is where you're getting to the actual high end of his range, is Jaime Jaquez.
Yeah. That's Heat culture written all over it. Are you kidding me? Oh my God.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. So I think the Nick Smith idea is pretty great. Gabe Vincent is a free agent. I bet he ends up on the Heat again, but who knows? So I could see them being like Nick Smith. Kyle Lowry could probably teach him some decent stuff over the next year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a bad pick at all, but I also think Jaime Jaquez is just like you said, it's a no-brainer there. It's just like, of course they picked him,
Yeah.
He's a Pat Riley guy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's going to be an assistant coach for them in 15 years.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, because do the Jazz have, how many second-round picks do the Jazz have?
They have 0. So they have
0.
They have the 28th pick as well.
28th, that's what it is.
Yeah. So the Jazz have 9, 16, and 28 in this draft, and that's it. No second rounders.
That's what it was, because I was thinking that they had another pick. I wasn't thinking it was another first. Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Who are you thinking for them in that range?
Honestly, I would love if James Nagy dropped there.
Okay.
I don't think having an extra rim runner is a bad thing. I know they have Walker Kessler, and he's their guy. But a dude who I love there, who I just hope he's there, is Sidy Cissoko.
Yeah.
He's kind of dropped off the map in recent weeks, but I think I would probably put him in like the early 20s is where I think he should go, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
what about someone like because I know they worked him out because I was looking at the list of people that the Jazz worked out and whatnot. So you'll be able to tell me if a name is talked about. Trace Jackson Davis.
I haven't heard it at all.
Okay.
But I don't know.
He's like undersized post. He's like 6'8", 6'8.5", I think.
Okay.
Lefty. Not much of a jump shot. It's still something like developing, but like solid player, great passer.
So I think the Jazz should take a flyer at 28. I know you don't like him very much, but like if for whatever reason GG Jackson dropped all the way down to 28, like the Jazz better take him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For no other reason than just see what happens, you know?
Yeah. No, I think anything outside the top 20, if he's there, then like I can't blame a team for because the guys you're gonna get in that range now, especially for this draft.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just hoping they're role players, right? At least.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and I think the Jazz have a situation with all their draft capital their team was decent. You know, they probably would have been a play-in team if not for that trade deadline trade to the Lakers, right?
Yeah.
If they kept Vanderbilt and Beasley and Mike Conley, like they're probably the 10th seed in the West. So it's not like they're bad. I think they have a spot to take a flyer on GG Jackson and see if he can reach his potential. Yeah. You know, he's the youngest player in the draft. I think if he decided to go into the draft next year instead, he would actually be close to a lottery pick. If not, creep up towards 10. But yeah, if you can get him at 28, why not?
Yeah. I know my now that we're done with all the picks, my guy Jordan Miller from Miami. Sorry, another trade news. That he worked out for the Jazz too. So he would be someone that, like, if he didn't get picked, that would be like a two-way.
Dude, I would love it. I really want the Jazz to just go all out this summer and sign Bruce Brown to a multi-year deal.
That'd be legit.
Yeah, and Naz Reid. So Jazz actually have max cap space. Kind of a crappy year to be in that situation.
Yeah, you're not taking Austin Reeves from us, though. I just want you to know that. We're not letting another white boy get away.
Well, I mean, that's fine because the Lakers would be smart to match. But the Jazz having like 40-something million in room.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The Jazz, I think they should sign Austin Reeves to the max that he can do, which is like, 90-something million? 91 million, something like that. Sign him to that offer sheet on immediately and make the Lakers match him. And then I think you sign Naz Reid to 12, 13 million a year. You sign Bruce Brown to something similar, between 12 to 15 million a year. And then I think you're sitting pretty, man. I mean, Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, Ochai Agbaji, those guys are all going to get better. You just took Asar Thompson in the draft, hypothetically. Mm-hmm. And you're just waiting for Luka to demand a trade. And then, but for real though, could you imagine if Dallas called up and was like, hey, give us Ochai Agbaji and Asar Thompson and, who did I have him take? Keontae George and 5 first-round picks or 6 first-round picks, 7 first-round picks. Damn. If Luka's coming to a team that has Colin Sexton in place and it has Lowry and it has Walker Kessler and it has Bruce Brown and Naz Reid, that's a pretty good situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Jazz should just be building for that Luka trade if it happens.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think the Mavs can do some stuff to keep him happy, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to be easy for Dallas to keep him happy. They're in a really bad situation right now.
Yeah.
So.
Did you see the latest with that trade?
About
Gallo. Mike Muscala and, Gallo. Going to the Wizards.
So weird to me.
Yeah. So let me ask you something. So out of the guys that we haven't talked about, I don't know if there's, more names. Who's like maybe a guy that like you really like that's outside of, the top, what is it, like 20 that we did?
Let me take a look at the list to refresh my memory. So I like GG Jackson. I like his potential. Yeah. I like Olivier Maxson's Prosper.
Yeah, that's who I was going to mention actually.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like there's a big group like Dariq Whitehead. I don't love him, but like if he's there at 28 and the Jazz got him at 28, I'd be like, cool, awesome. Like we could have done a lot worse at 28.
And it's so crazy because I feel like he was a guy that was projected to be like the number 2 or 3 pick, like early,
Yeah.
And like you don't really see years where these guys fall so hard. Like Nick Smith fell so hard. And I think like what contributes to that, it's not only like, they had somewhat disappointing seasons, but it's just the fact that like there's so many good players.
Yeah.
Right? Because that wouldn't have happened if,
Yeah.
People were unsure.
That's kind of why I don't really want the Jazz to trade up in this draft unless they really mean it.
Yeah.
Like if we trade up to 5 for Anthony Black and we have to trade all of our picks to do it, I'm just like, why take Black at 5 when you could have taken like Cason Wallace or Kobe Buffkin at 9, or maybe Asar Thompson or Taylor Hendricks, and then had 2 more picks in this first round,
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make any sense to me.
By the way, I just saw a comp for GG Jackson, and I think I might be a fan now just because of the comp. It's Josh Smith, who is one of my favorite players. For people always like make fun of me because like, Josh Smith is Josh Smith, but I always thought he was like one of the most fun players to watch in the NBA, even if he didn't pan out as well as he probably should have.
I definitely agree. He's one of the funnest players to watch, but he's what the kids nowadays would call a true hooper.
Yeah. Definitely had him on all my teams in 2K when I would do the fantasy draft. I think one guy I would look at is Maxwell Lewis from Pepperdine.
So I haven't watched him at all, but everyone talks about him in like the Jazz sphere.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Jazz took him at the 28th pick?
Yeah, I'm looking at a mock draft right now that has Jazz taking Maxwell Lewis at 28.
Yeah, because I mean he's kind of all over the board because the Lakers were actually projected to take him in a few of the mocks I saw at 17. So if that says anything,
Yeah.
When you play at a small school like that, it's hard to measure though,
Yeah.
How good someone is.
Yeah. Interesting.
Dude, all right. I'm so excited.
So now that we've done our mocks, look at your list. Who made the worst pick on your board?
Well, I mean, technically, I made them all. So
yeah, but you know what I'm saying is like, because I think all the picks that we just did made a lot of sense. Like whether or not the teams do that is one thing, but I think there was at least good logic behind it, right?
I guess. Yeah, I guess the Pacers with Cam Whitmore.
Okay.
But I mean,
and why? Why do you think that's a bad pick at 7?
Just because I think Cam Whitmore is someone that falls a little bit more. I like him as a player. I just don't know. To me, he's like the most boom or bust in the top 10.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think that's fair because he's probably perhaps the best athlete, but also perhaps the worst basketball player in the top 10.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that's crazy to say either of those things, but I was also reading somewhere that like he also has played a lot less basketball than everyone else in the top 10. So I think there's reason to believe in his potential, just that he like started playing later and then, has had seasons shortened due to COVID and injury and stuff like that.
Due to the team sucking.
Yeah. So
because Villanova didn't make it to the tournament and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think someone said that he's only played like 6 seasons of basketball in his life.
Oh wow.
Yeah, something like that. I could be wrong, but it was the guy that does boxing one. He was saying that like Cam Whitmore has just played a lot less basketball than everyone else in the top 10. So, but I'm with you though. Like that doesn't mean he's going to be good. You know, I agree that he is probably the worst basketball player out of these 10 guys though.
Yeah.
Today.
But and like that's not even me saying like, oh, it's such a bad pick or like whatever, but that's just the one that like just stands out a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think he has I think anyone in that top 10 has great potential to be really like I think that out of that top 10, it wouldn't surprise me if I'm trying to think of what number I want to say here. Like 6 out of 10. I wouldn't be shocked if like 6 out of 10 were like all-stars.
Yeah.
Like, is that crazy to say?
No, not in this draft.
No.
I mean, maybe we're overrating it. That happened in like 2014 really bad, you know?
They all suck. Like,
yeah. I remember when Dante Exum fell to the Jazz at 5. Dude,
God.
I was so anti Aaron Gordon in that draft. I was like, because you know, all the mocks had Exum going 4th and Aaron Gordon being the pick at 5. And I was so mad about it. And I remember the Magic taking Aaron Gordon at 4, and I lost it. I was like, dude, we got Dante Exum. No way. You know? Look at how that turned out. So
oh my God.
All right. So I think my worst pick would be probably the Magic at 11, taking Grady Dick.
Yeah.
And
you had to do it. You had to do it for the memes, though.
Yeah, but so if you're the Magic though, and you're taking Grady Dick, what do you think about Hawkins or Keontae George at 11? Because I had them taking Anthony Black like you. If you're the Magic and you're deciding between Grady Dick, Jordan Hawkins, and Keontae George, what are you doing?
I mean, I'm trying to think of what would be best fit.
Yeah, because the guys around him that I had was like Coulibaly going 12, and then Wallace, Hood, Schifino. So it's like they already took a point guard, and there's a lot of guards, you know.
I mean,
so I went for shooting.
Yeah, I guess it's just like what you expect. Like what kind of role you're expecting. Like, do you see what's his name from Baylor, Keontae?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see him more as like a combo guard, like you know, maybe that role? Like I know people were comparing him to like CJ McCollum in a way. Do you see him more in that way? I think it would be a good fit if you see him that way.
Yeah. I think if I could redo that, I'd probably take Keontae George at 11 for Orlando. Because thinking about it, like they have Jalen Suggs, like they want a dude who's just a flamethrower at 11. Because if they took Black at 6, right, you want a guy at 11 who just can like
that's true,
just shoot flames, you know, from everywhere on the floor, be a creator for himself, and then you can throw Jalen Suggs out there with him. You can throw Anthony Black out there with him, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, like Grady Dick is a good shooter, but he's not a like he doesn't create his own shot as much.
He probably shouldn't put the ball on the floor in the NBA. I know people are trying to sell you on that he can, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah. We've been doing this for 2 hours, but it's been amazing.
Doesn't feel like it.
I know. I could go all night.
For real.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for tomorrow, man. I look forward to this every year. It's the best part. And then Summer League is like just around the corner. That's going to be awesome. So I can't wait to recap this all too. So are we doing something tomorrow then?
If you want to, let's text about it, and I'm open to doing a recap show.
Even if we just do like a brief thing, if you're down, and then we can do something later, that'd be cool.
Okay. Well, let's text about it, but I'm feeling pretty confident that we can roll a little bit tomorrow after the draft.
Okay. Sounds good to me, man.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you check out About the Fans. All the gear I'm wearing right now brought to you by About the Fans for all of your South Florida sports needs. Maddie, thanks, man. And thanks to Petrie. We had Petrie on earlier. Yeah. He's the best. We love Petrie. And then until tomorrow, this is About the Buckets.